Hey guys, this is Jeff the Crippler Daniels, and you're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. Tune in.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
For those who don't know, now you know, baby. This is Hot Rod Biggs, Jared, Jimmy Street. We're going to take them to the limit one more time, baby, right here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. And I'm your host, Jimmy Street, and this is my brother from the same father and mother, the Plastic Sheik, Jared Street. What's up, brother? How you doing today?
I'm doing great, brother. How about yourself?
Hanging in there, man. Just, looking forward to getting a conversation in with Jeff, the Crippler Daniels. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, man, it's going to be good to talk to him. The guy's been everywhere. I mean, people are probably going to say, if they look him up on YouTube or something like that, they're probably going to say, hey, man, I've seen that guy before.
Right. I've seen him somewhere. I know that guy from somewhere. Yeah. Jeff is a great guy. I got to know him in the Nashville scene, like most of the people that we interview on here. And I tell you, he was just one of those guys that you gravitate towards. It was just like, oh man, I want to hear what this guy's talking about, and, he's a longtime veteran that knows his stuff and doesn't mind to talk to the younger guys and share it with them, and for that, that's why, honestly, he's a treasure for that scene, especially the Middle Tennessee, but also just the whole, he's a treasure. So it's good to have Jeff on. Jeff's just one of those guys that you could literally talk to about a million things. So I think I've got some good questions. I know you've got some good questions for him. I'm excited to see how that goes. So.
Me too, brother.
Yeah, so to kind of do a little backtracking before we get to Jeff, the first thing to address, I guess, right now is that the last episode we had was the action figure episode, seeing a lot of, good listens and numbers and stuff, so we're happy about that. Definitely appreciate that. Also some fun feedback. And yes, Charlie, the announcer of the Muscle Men, looked just like Rick Boucher, so we got to... We got to prove that on our Facebook page, so that was hilarious. And yeah, so we, have been having fun with that episode. So,
do you think that was supposed to be like Mean Gene-esque, or do you think it looked like one of the Japanese announcers or something like that?
I think it's got to be one of the Japanese announcers, in my personal opinion.
Probably
yeah,
so.
Because he kind of does have that like Japanese, almost stereotypical look about him a little bit. But
yeah,
I'm
you're
telling
probably
you,
right.
I think it looks like Rick Boucher to me.
Yeah.
But y'all go look up Rick Boucher if you don't know who that is. But anyway, he was a longtime congressman, House of Representatives, whatever, from the state of Virginia in our 9th district. So,
and some people might say it Boucher, but
no, it's
here. I know, but
yeah, Boucher. I like that. Rick Boucher.
Yeah, but that's how it's spelled. I think like in some Cajun type. That name would be
that's
Boucher,
Ricky
like
Boucher.
French Canadian type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's old Ricky Boucher. Anyway. Yeah, Rick Boucher, longtime guy there. So anyway, we had a good time with the action figures. So what's cool is the action figure shows kind of bring in a different audience, and so we've kind of become a liaison of sorts. One of our new sponsors on the show is Insane Shane's World. He's got a Facebook page. He actually makes custom action figures of these guys that we're talking about, and they're not your normal custom. They're not like, take a Cena head and a Triple H torso and whatever legs and that kind of thing. This guy, he has something that, like, basically, I guess, like a 3D printer And he prints these guys up. I know he's done Troy Eaton. I know he's done Reno Riggins is the one that's dropping soon. But go to Insane Shane's World on Facebook. Look him up. He's got an ad now on our show, and we're running that with him because you know what? You know, we've got the plastic Sheik. I don't know. Maybe we might see a plastic Sheik action figure one day. We'll see. You know, things happen, right? So
the sky's the limit, brother.
The sky is the limit. Do you have anything you'd like to share before we get going to Jeff here?
Just thinking about some things, you know, I saw that CM Punk is possibly getting healthy again. So just something to keep our eyes on if he actually appears in wrestling again anywhere.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Seth Rollins kind of opened the door for something there, but
he did.
That could just be, you know, the thing is people, we forget that wrestlers are workers, you know?
That's true. That's true.
And they could just be working us. And that's the thing. And once it's kind of a curse. Once you are or see enough of the wrestling business and you kind of get a little smart to it, you start to see everything as a work. We've talked about this before, but, you know, like NFL, it's a work, you know?
Well, there's supposedly a prediction out there for the Super Bowl that we'll see if it's true as of recording this. But.
That The Rock is going to show up or something?
Yeah.
CM Punk's going to get in there.
No, supposedly the score is going to be 37-34 Eagles. That's supposedly a script from the NFL, they've said. I don't know.
Well, that's a good one, Sheik. Who do you think will be the winner of the Super Bowl?
I'm going to say Chiefs. I don't know why.
Chiefs? You like Patrick? Yeah.
I just think that they always seem to make the plays when they need to. Eagles quarterback's a little banged up or has been, Jalen Hurts, so I don't know if
him Hurts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he's going to play unless they tell him he can't play, so it's
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see, but I'll go with the Chiefs too. So I was feeling the Chiefs, but I just feel like Patrick's one of the top echelon, and they've got a great team around him. So we'll see. You know, Chiefs and Eagles, why not? So by this time, it'll have already happened, and you know it'll be almost out of their minds now. So, except for the team who wins. So, congratulations to whoever wins.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I think that's it for the opening right now. I want to just get to Jeff. Let me get him on the line here. You guys hang out with us just for a second. We're going to listen to a few messages, and we'll be right back with some Jeff the Crippler Daniels.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Got some good news for your ears. More of that good stuff is coming up. And even better news for your hair. The best hair care is at Sephora. They've got all kinds of products for every kind of hair. From brands like Amika, Kerastase, Day, and K18. You knew where to get great audio. Now, you know where to get great hair care, too. Sephora. Good news for great hair. Shop hair care now at Sephora.com.
It's the Smucker's Uncrustables podcast with your host, Uncrustables. Okay, today's guest is rough around the edges. Please welcome Crust.
Thanks for having me.
Today's topic, he's round with soft, pillowy bread.
Hey.
Filled with delicious PB&J.
Are you talking about yourself?
And you can take him anywhere.
Why'd you invite?
And we are out of time.
Are you really cutting me off?
Uncrustables are the best part of the sandwich. Sorry, Crust.
At Starbucks, we've more than doubled paid parental leave, now up to 18 weeks. Which means Starbucks baristas can spend more time with the best company they know, their families. At Starbucks, benefits like parental leave are just the start.
This is Kroll, and you're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling with Jimmy Street and Jarrett the Plastic Sheik. Be sure to like, subscribe, and view all of our USWO and Saw Wrestling content at Nashville Wrestling Network, exclusively on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. And y'all, today we've got a very special guest on the show. I tell you, we have topics, we have what ifs, we have cool things, but when we get a cool guest on the show, that's when I really feel like we're at our peak right now. And this guy right here is a absolute legend when it comes down to it. He's done a little bit of everything and lived to tell about it. So welcome to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast, Mr. Jeff the Crippler Daniels. How you doing, brother?
I am good, brother. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
We're happy to have you on. Excited to have you on. It's funny because I never clicked with you on Facebook for some reason because you're under your shoot name. And I'm like, man, I know this guy. Why do I? And we finally got together, man, and friended each other or whatever you call it. And then, dude, you're on the podcast. I'm excited, man. So
yeah, I mean, I shut my wrestling one down 3 or 4 years ago. It was a hassle, and I wasn't viable anymore. I was retired, and it was just a bunch of bull on there all the time, and I got tired messing with it, so I just shut it down.
Yeah, I understand, man. I don't blame you. What's funny is I was in the business for a little bit and a bunch of people friended me and all this stuff. And then I get out of the business and then all those friends kind of go away. And then I get on a podcast about wrestling again with Wolfie and my brother here. And boom, boom, boom. Everybody and their mother's trying to friend me on here. So I actually sent out the friendship to you. So I'm not putting you in that realm.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. It's amazing. You get viable again and they come out of the woodwork, don't they?
Yeah, that's a good way to say it, actually.
Hey, Jeff. So, one of the first things I always like to ask to kind of start us off, and it kind of lets the audience know kind of where you come from in the wrestling business is if you could have a Mount Rushmore of your all-time favorite or just the all-time wrestlers to you that could be impacted your life, your favorite, or just people you like to watch, or it could just be your opinion of who's the best. And you could even have a fifth one, 4 to 5 of your top wrestlers of all time.
So just after being in the business, or just like growing up, who I thought, or just in general?
All of it, man. All of it.
Any or all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big influence on my career, made me want to be a professional wrestler was, believe it or not, Ken Mantell, when he was a world junior heavyweight champion.
Yes.
Awesome. Ted DiBiase's got to go in there. Ted's one of the best workers that was ever in this business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ricky Morton.
Oh, yeah.
Good, true, close friend of mine. I love Ricky to death, but he is this business personified.
Yes, he is.
And then, just because I love him, superstar Billy Graham.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Man, that's a great Mount Rushmore.
And unfortunately, Billy Graham gets overlooked a lot with when it comes to the all-time greats, just because he was a little bit early for a lot of people. He was just a little bit early for a lot of people.
He was way before his time, but he changed the landscape of professional wrestling. He is what Vince turned Hulk Hogan into.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
He had him there already. And, the deal with Backlund taking that belt, and instead of making a babyface turn with Graham, which would have got over because the people had begun to love him anyway.
Yeah.
That was missed opportunity right there. He should have been Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it's so true.
Instead of Hulk Hogan copying him.
Yeah, do you think maybe he was too strong-minded for Vince? And that's maybe why Vince... No? Yeah.
No, it was old school mentality. They told him the day he won the belt, the day he would lose the belt, they were grooming Bob Backlund because they were tired of having an ethnic champion, because they had Bruno with the Italians, they had Pedro with the Puerto Ricans, and and Vince Sr. always wanted a red-headed All-American champion.
Yeah. Okay.
But, Graham was selling out and doing big business, but Vince Sr. was a man of his word. Everybody I've ever talked to that said anything, he said you could take his word to the bank. And, to the day he took that belt off Graham.
No.
Wow.
That's crazy to think about because Billy Graham was so special to not only other wrestlers like Dusty Rhodes and Hulk Hogan and Scott Steiner and so many guys, but when it came down to it, even boxers were taking some stuff from the superstar. So
yeah, and even like Jesse Ventura.
Graham said he took stuff from Muhammad Ali too. You know.
Well, I mean, it's probably a give and a take. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's the one that started it all. You know, Dusty patterned his promos after him. The brother thing, Hogan with brother this and brother that. You know, that was superstar Billy Graham.
Brother.
You know,
yeah.
Look back on some old Georgia Championship wrestling. There's one where Graham comes in, he cuts his promo on Ric Flair going to wrestle him for the world title. Man, it is superstar Billy Graham personified.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we'll bring you back for the Superstar Billy Graham show, but today we're going to talk Jeff Crippler Daniels. How you feel about that, brother?
Hey, I'm excited. Let's go.
All right. So I always start this off, man, and it kind of goes back a little further than a lot of podcasts go. Talk about your younger days, man. Where'd you grow up? Where are you from, brother?
Well, I was born in Houston, Texas, grew up in Louisiana, just across the state line from Texas in a town called DeRidder, which is about 40 minutes north of Lake Charles. So as you all know, Jeff the Crippler Daniels from Lake Charles, Louisiana. So
yeah, buddy.
That's where that came from. You know, I played football, baseball, we didn't have, believe it or not, amateur wrestling.
Okay.
Where I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you play in football? What was your position?
Linebacker on defense or nose guard, depending on which defense we were running. And I played fullback or strong back position on offense.
Nice. All right, what about baseball? What'd you play in baseball?
I was first baseman. I'm left-handed.
Okay, that sets you up. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, a lefty too, a southpaw, huh? Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Who'd you like? Were you a Stros fan growing up?
My dad was a huge Oakland A's fan.
Yeah, okay.
And the Oakland A's played the St. Louis Cardinals in a World Series when I was just a little kid. And I saw those St. Louis Cardinals jerseys, and I've been a Cardinals fan ever since.
Yeah, okay. Well, we won't tell you who we like, but we'll just it ain't the Cubs, we'll say that. It's maybe another team y'all beat up on in the Central, the Reds.
So. Yeah, well.
It can't be perfect, can we?
I'm a Bengals fan because of Joe Burrow. You know, I'm an LSU guy.
You Bayou Bengals, yeah. I figured you would be, yeah.
And Jamar Chase.
Yeah. So I know we're talking sports here, and I don't want to kind of go too far with that, but I don't want to cut you off either. But at what point did pro wrestling come in around that time?
Well, I mean, from the time I was a kid, my grandfather was a huge wrestling fan. You know, I grew up watching Leroy McGurk's wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
And then later Bill Watts took over and it became Mid-South. But that's what I grew up on. And then I had family in Houston. I'd go there and I'd get to see Paul Bosch's wrestling,
Oh, yeah.
So, that's what I grew up on. And when I got out of school, I moved to Houston. I was working in Houston. And I used to go down to 1919 Caroline.
Yeah.
It was the wrestling office, Paul Bosch. And every Friday I'd go down there, Miss Bosch, I want to be a professional wrestler. Oh, kid, you don't want to do this. You're going to starve to death. You're not big enough, blah, blah, blah. And I did it every Friday, man.
Yeah.
He said, well, if Nick Kozak comes around, I'll ask him if he's interested. Or if Tiger Conway comes around, I'll ask him if he's interested. And, and I kept doing it. And after about a year, I walked in there one Friday. He said, you are not going to give up, are you? I said, no, sir. I want to be a wrestler. And he said, come back here. It's the first time I ever got to go back into the office part.
Yeah.
Man, he had pictures of everybody on that wall that had been to Houston, And he took the phone. He called San Antonio. He called Joe Blanchard. And he said, Joe, I got a kid here. He's very persistent. He said, I'm going to send him to you, and I want you to take care of him.
Okay.
Which I learned later, I want you to take care of him meant don't take his money and break his leg and send him home.
Right.
So I went down to San Antonio, and Eric Embry was the trainer, but Eric was leaving, going to Dallas, and I ended up Bruiser Bob Sweetan trained me.
Okay.
And Jonathan Boyd had a little bit to do with it too.
Yeah. What year was this?
Herder had just left. This was 85.
Yeah.
Early 85, late 84, early 85.
Okay, awesome. And you said the sheep herders, I've had Luke on podcast before, and great guy. The funny thing is we talked too much about the bushwhackers, and all I wanted to do was talk about the sheep herders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Luke was the booker there.
Yeah.
And, Joe had took the book back over, and, I was training with like Mannyville Lobos and some of those guys. Rudy Gonzalez was in there. Dusty Wolf.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then your top guys, you had Scott Casey. Of course, Tully would come in. Sweetan. The Stomper was in and out. The Spoiler. Al Madrid.
Yeah.
He had everybody. Al Madrid.
He did. That's amazing.
Al Perez. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever talk to Gary Hart at all?
Gary wasn't in there. Gary was in Dallas at that time.
Got it.
That's all the boys were going up there because Joe was about to shut down. He was about to sell out to Fred Barron for that Texas All-Star deal.
Right. Okay.
I got in, I got started, and then Joe did his deal, took his money from Byrd up there, sold to Fred Barron, and Fred kept a few of the top guys, but he cleared house, man. So here I am just getting started, and now I don't have a job.
Floor falls out from under you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to get into Dallas at this point, and, they bring me up and they do a thing or two with me, nothing big, just undercard, doing some TV, show up on a house show.
Yeah.
Funny, later on, I came back, and, I left there because I wasn't doing anything, and I went out to California and was working for California Championship Wrestling. It was Victor Rivera, Steve Strong. It was after the Olympic stuff. All that was dead and gone at that point.
Right.
But man, I was starving to death out there. I tried to get on up to San Francisco, couldn't get anything there. Ended up, got a little break. Buddy of mine, Gorgeous Joey Jackson.
Okay.
Was up in Portland. So I got a little spot up there. I was there for a minute, and I was just like, man, it's too damn cold up here. So I came back home, and, I'll try to figure out what I can do. Well, I got back to Louisiana, and a buddy of mine said, man, they're starting a new promotion here in Louisiana. I was like, really? So he introduced me to the guy, and it was Edward Falk and Jim Carpenter with that IWF, the International Wrestling Federation.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So, actually at the time it was Jim Carpenter had it. Then I knew Edward Falk from refereeing, and I got Edward into it. Edward, just basically muscled right in on Jim and took over. And I thought, well, I'm in a great position, which I was. I worked on top there for a couple of years, and I had a who's who of guys to work with. We'd bring in one-man gang, all the Mid-South guys. We'd bring in me and a guy, Amos Moses.
Oh, yeah, okay.
John DeLotte.
Yeah.
But me and Amos, Jack Curtis put us together as the new Rock and Roll Express. Going to try to, play off that in Louisiana. So, and then they brought in like Iceman and Brickhouse Brown, the Blackbirds to work us. We worked the Rock and Roll RPMs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got crossways with Edward because he owed me a bunch of money. And so Mike Davis sent me over to Continental, which had just died because everything was dying then,
Yeah, man, the territory's drying up. Yeah.
I think her name was Cheryl Dunn was running it at that point. And I worked over there for a month or so. I was like, nah. Tommy Pritchard, which I knew from Houston, Tommy said, man, don't leave. It's going to get better. And I was like, nah, I'm going back to Louisiana, man.
Right.
So I went back, and then I got picked up with World Class, and believe it or not, it's a funny story. Great Muda. It was his first trip to the States, and he was doing the Super Black Ninja gimmick.
Right. Yes.
And the guy he was working, Muda would give him that spin kick, and he kept bumping out of the ring to the floor. And Akbar hated that. Akbar said, if that son of a bitch falls out of the ring one more time, you got your gear with you? I said, yes, sir, I do. He said, well, the spot's yours.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that night, Blackham Coliseum in Lafayette, he bumped out of the ring, and they sent him home, and I picked up working the rest of that tour with Muda as the Super Black Ninja.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
How was that, man? I mean, because you're kind of getting some seasoning on you.
He was green, and he was stiff. I jobbed to him in WCW years later, and he was the easiest, smoothest guy in the whole world.
Wow. So, okay, you've been telling a great story, so I'm not messing up your flow, but talk about what was your very first match and who was it against?
Bob Sweetan.
Bob Sweetan. And how did that go? How did you feel?
We did about 10 minutes, and of course he pile drived me and beat me.
Yeah.
Since he was breaking me in, they kind of married me to him. And we worked our way up to mid card before he broke off and went into something big again.
Yeah.
But I mean, he carried me around, took care of me, broke me in, got me used to crowds, and, steady talking to me. Look, here's how you do this. Here's how you do this. This is what we're going to do now, and then riding in the car, I would drive him, and it just him and all those guys down there were just a wealth of knowledge, and anybody willing to learn back then, if you would shut up and listen, they would teach you everything that you needed to know.
Yeah.
And
that's
really
still
good.
true,
Yeah. And I will tell you, first time I ever got color was Hard Way by Sweetan. we were working mid-card, and he had me in a headlock. We were down, and he said, boy, the crowd's flat, kid. He said, we got to get them up. We're building to the main event. He said, maybe we'll get a little color. I said, well, I don't have a blade, Bob. He said, you don't need one.
Oh, man.
He backed me in the corner. He backed me in the corner and popped me over my left eye.
Yeah.
And, he said, did that hurt? I said, no. He said, I still got the touch. And by the time blood was just all over me, man. I thought, wow. No knot, no nothing. He just popped right down over that auricle bone and split me wide open.
Yeah.
With a bunch of tape in the back to tape it up. And then, of course, from then on, the next 2 or 3 nights, you just bump it and I'm bleeding again.
Yeah.
That's Sweetan hard-wayed me my first time.
I mean, honestly, that was the first time I ever got color, was a hard way too, but this is not my show. So, so Sweetan, so when you're working him, it's like you're learning on the job, right? So who would you say was the next person to kind of take you on as your teacher, essentially?
I mean, I bounced around at that point. I mean, Akbar had a lot. Akbar liked me a lot. So,
love Akbar. Yeah. He was one of my biggest influences. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He used to beg me to move back to Dallas. Please come back to Dallas. I said, man, I'm in Nashville. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need you so bad down here, kid. You just don't understand.
Yeah.
Which anytime I wanted to go that way, I picked up the phone and I was booked as long as I wanted to be booked over that way, which was really good. I got some good stuff in Global. I worked with Calvin Knapp, stuff like that. But as far as in the ring, when I was with IWF, I'd made that little trip out west, and it was just kind of on my own. And, those guys were cliquey out there.
Sure.
So everybody kind of stayed to themselves. You worked who you worked, and it's what it was. But I got back into IWF for Louisiana with them. And before me and Amos tagged up, Jerry Stubbs came in.
Okay.
And, Jerry took a liking to me, kind of took me under his wing. We even tagged together and had the IWF tag belt, which was the first title I ever held.
Yeah.
But, and Jerry was like, look, here's what you do, and you don't let nobody tell you this, and don't let nobody tell you that. You're your own man, and you make your own money, and if you don't like what they're doing, you make a call and move down the road. Don't sit somewhere and be unhappy. Just smarting me up to the business end, and also polishing me up as a worker too. I mean, he is phenomenal. Jerry Stubbs is one of the most underrated wrestlers in the world.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I know that wrestling is not just a one-time, the light bulb goes off and you know everything, but do you remember when the first light bulb went off in your mind and you were like, okay, I started to get something there. I'm getting it now. Do you remember that time?
Yeah. Well, doing that stuff with Stubbs, it was serious learning tree.
Sure.
But after that, when me and Amos were together and Brickhouse and Iceman came in, and Ice told me flat out, if you kids can't work, we're going to eat your ass alive. And we went out there and tore the house down with him. He's like, brother, I'll work with you anywhere. And he would get us bookings, out of there to go work them. And of course, then Brick, who was always in trouble, bless his heart. And then he brought in that kid from Dallas, Mr. Ebony, and that, they did that for a while. But working with him, I really started to understand psychology, and how to sell, when to sell, how much to sell, But when I think when the light really came on for me was when I finally turned heel, because I'd worked so long as a babyface. I knew what that babyface needed. I knew what I needed to do to get that babyface over to make me viable. Good heel, if you're going to get heat, you got to give that babyface 90% of everything.
Yeah.
And knowing when, how. But I would say probably around 90 when I came up here for Jarrett. I came up here for Jerry Jarrett and worked here a few months, and they switched bookers back to Lawler, so it's a good cop, bad cop thing, Either Jarrett's the booker and you work, and then Lawler takes over and you're gone, or vice versa. So at that time, Tom Pritchard and Ricky Morton, Dirty White Boy, they were all like, hey, brother, just come to Smoky Mountain. We'll get you in down here. So I went to Smoky Mountain, and me and Chris Michael.
Yeah. It's the first time I ever saw you wrestle, Jeff. It was in Smoky Mountain. So
me and Chris went down there and tore the house down, and both got jobs. I mean, we tore it up. We did we had this 15-minute match worked out, and Cornette says, sounds great, guys. Can you do it in 6? Yes, sir. So it was a 6-minute high spot, man. I mean, we never stopped moving, except I bumped out of the ring one time, and the only reason I did that was so he could do a plancha over the top on me, And of course, you had Bob Cottle and Dutch Mantell doing commentary, so they made us sound like $1 million.
And Chris Michaels was old Chris Comet around that time, I do believe, correct?
Chris Comet, yep.
Yeah.
Me and him had been working here around Nashville doing the independent stuff. See, when I finished up with Jared, I was like, well, shit, I don't know what I'm going to do, and somebody says, well, you need to call Chris Champion. So I called Chris, and Chris like, oh, brother, I could use you. I'm booking here, I'm booking there, I'm booking here. I can work you 4 or 5 nights a week. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I started meeting the guys around here. Ashley Hudson had just come over from Australia, was green kid,
Yeah.
Chris was just breaking in. There was a ton of guys, man.
Yeah.
And, me and Chris hung together and booked stuff forever. And when I got the booking job for NWA, I brought Chris in as my assistant because just me and him flowed well together with our thoughts and stuff. But I would say probably 91's when the light bulb came on for me. Really felt at home and felt like I was a journeyman starting to turn into a general.
Yeah. Because, right about this time, you're starting to really do some stuff as far as doing, not only being a general in the local areas, but also you're starting to become a carpenter too. I mean, you were a carpenter. I'm saying that in the wrong way.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. And proud to be a carpenter. That's a hell of a job to have, and it always keeps you working.
Absolutely.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
This episode is brought to you by GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco. Get the most out of your vehicle with GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco original equipment. The only parts designed, engineered, tested, and backed by General Motors. You can find your perfect fit for most makes and models and choose from 3 tiers of parts, including GM OE or gold and silver aftermarket parts. Visit gmparts.com for more information.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
My name is Happy Gilmore. I haven't swung a club in years.
You know what you gotta do.
Grip it and rip it.
Or... Oh, now that is some Happy Gilmore.
Everyone is talking about the comeback kid, Happy Gilmore.
Happy Knee.
Yeah, baby!
Happy Gilmore 2, only on Netflix July 25th. Rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13.
I was going to ask you, Jeff, I did a little research about you. I saw that you started some with WWF in, is it August of 92 or something like that? Is that right?
Yeah, downtown Bruno, who had got me in up here, he was down there in IWF with the RPMs. When I was ready to leave Louisiana, he said, well, man, it was me and Big Jim Ryder. I don't know if you guys knew him. He looked just like One Man Gang. But me and him, Bruno said, look, y'all come up. I'm going to introduce you to Lawler. I said, all right. So we drove up to Memphis. We left the show in Belle Chase, Louisiana on a Saturday night, drove to Memphis, went to Mid-South Coliseum. On Sunday, we went out and watched Jerry Lawler play softball and met him.
Yeah.
And Monday, we went to the Coliseum, and Jared said, yeah, I'm always looking for some new guys. He said, can you be here for TV Saturday? Oh, well, shit, that's a week away. He said, yeah, we can be here. So we drove back to Louisiana, got our crap together, come up here for TV. I got a job, but Jim didn't. He told him, big guys are a dime a dozen up here. I can get big guys all day long. But he kept me and Dominique.
Yeah.
So, from then on, just me and her worked together forever.
That was a going.
The WWF stuff, Bruno got me in up there because he had just went up. And I remember my first night in was the Von Braun Center in Huntsville. And
wow,
it was building up to Kamala
and
Undertaker in the coffin match. Survivor Series, SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Can't remember which. But I had the last TV match with Kamala before the pay-per-view.
Okay.
And, I knew Jim from down in Louisiana because, all the Louisiana guys know all the Louisiana guys. Cassidy O'Reilly, Cassidy Riley. I kept him booked up here.
Yeah.
A bunch of the boys, Kevin Northcutt, all them guys. We, anytime they were coming through, I had a booking for them because, we all stuck together.
Right. We love Cassidy on this show for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So I love Cass, man. He's one of my favorite people in the whole world.
Great dude.
And yes, he is. And so I go out there with Kamala. That's when he was doing the deal where he would, pin you on your stomach, and they're trying to tell him, roll him over, that whole deal.
Yeah.
So I did this deal where when he gave me the splash in the middle of my back, when he hit me, I threw both arms up and let my eyes roll back in my head, and just flop dead.
Yeah.
And, they rolled me over finally and pinned me. When I walked through the curtain at the gorilla position, Vince McMahon himself was standing there, and he said, guys, that's how I want Kamala sold. So I picked up a bunch of TV work from that.
Yeah.
But I worked Papa Shango the next night in Nashville, which was a cakewalk. He said, hey, we can work or we can work the gimmick. I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to put you in a trance and pin you without us taking a bump. I said, I'm your Huckleberry. Hey.
Yeah.
I did that little run with WWF, and then I picked up some stuff with WCW, and I got in down there when Bill Watts was in. I got back in. So, I did TVs off and on down there.
Yeah. Because then you're working Barbarian, Tony Atlas. Then you're working Tex and Shanghai. I mean, you're working all that stuff, man. So
yeah, Tex Slazenger and them. That's Ron Slinker's kid.
Yeah. Okay.
Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. Tex, he's a chef now, I'm pretty sure. And he's like a 5-star chef somewhere. And then we talked to Shanghai, which is, Henry Godwin. And he's, he's still big, raw bone son of a gun, and great guys, both of them, So.
Yeah. Is he cooking down in Florida? Is he back in Florida?
I think so. Yeah. I think that's where Dennis is. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, but yeah, Barbarian, man. I mean, that's as big as a guy you can get. I mean, I know Papa Shango is a big old boy, but
Barbie was easy because me and Joey Maggs were friends, which was, Manny Fernandez had him under his wing. So, and Manny and Barbie were great friends. So, of course, I got to hang around those guys. Me and Joey did, drive them up and down the road. So,
yeah,
he was easy. Now, if he didn't like you, he'd kill you. him and me both. But if he liked you, he was easy as a feather. And Tony had just come back. He was working in those army pants. He'd been painting houses.
Yeah.
And I worked him in a single match also, Tony.
Yeah. I watched that match earlier.
Yeah, he was like, they said, go home. He said, we can, I said, Tony, shoot me. Give me go for clothesline. I'll duck it. When I come back, grab both hands full of my hair. I'll lay out for a big bump. When I pop right back up, hit me with that full Nelson. He said, yeah, brother, that sounds good. And that's what he did for the finish. Yeah, he couldn't think of a finish. I thought of it on the fly right there. So.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't get credit for it. They told him how great he looked.
Yeah. So in the ring with Kamala, and I don't want to dial too far back here, but are you talking to Kamala before the match and he's keeping the gimmick in the match, or is he talking to you a little bit?
No, I got dressed in the same dressing room with him. Him and Bruno and Brawler and all those guys. And, he's just like, we just go out there and do a little serious robot, brother. You know the thing. I said, yeah, I know the thing. You're going to chop me up. I'm going to try to drop kick you. You're not going to sell it. I'm going to come up. You're going to chop me to death and give me a splash. He said, that's pretty much what we going to do, Jeffrey.
That's what we going to do, Jeffrey. Yeah. Kamala's great. Yeah. So you're working Kamala, Papa, Barbarian. I know this is kind of a quintessential list here, but in that time, though, you're also doing the USWA Smoky Mountain thing. Now, you kind of alluded to it earlier where, Jarrett would take the book and then you would have a spot, or Lawler. They were that way, right? They would literally clear the house sometimes just to start a whole new.
Would.
So they would do a blow off on their feuds, and then it was start over time. And then Lawler took the book for 6 months.
Right,
Tell me,
right?
And so that's what led you to Smoky Mountain.
Yeah, I mean they cleaned house. All the under talent gets cleaned out. They bring in new guys. They keep a handful of guys that are always in and out of there. Of course Jeff and Jerry are there, and the Moondogs are always there anytime they want to be there. Billy Travis is in and out between there and Dallas all the time.
Yeah.
Eric Embry had his wreck and was out. So,
Talk about my favorite, Tony Falk.
Tony Falk. I love Tony, man. Me and Tony been friends forever.
Yeah.
Met him in Dallas. He was refereeing at that point in Dallas.
Yeah.
And I was in there for a cup of coffee, and, they didn't really have a spot for me because all the top San Antonio guys were coming up there. That's where I first met Eric, too, because Eric left there right after I started training. And then I a little bit with him in Dallas, a little bit more with Global, and then, up here in USWA. And it's funny because Jarrett was taking over the book. I worked Eric Tuesday night at the Louisville Gardens, and he went back and he told Jerry, he said, Laura, don't get rid of this kid. He said, man, he can work his ass off.
Yeah.
And Laura said, no, I'm getting rid of him.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah.
But then you go full circle, the last couple of years that I was still working, anytime Lawler was working independents around here, he didn't want to work anybody but me. So
he asked for you. Yeah. So it's like you stuck around long enough for him to validate, okay, now I can work with him,
Yeah. Well, he always loved working with Dominique too, man.
Sure. Yeah.
He's like, I remember when he says, she wearing flats or she got heels? I said, she got heels.
Yeah.
He said, get her to give you one of them boots and dig that heel in my eye. I said, all right, you got it. So we played with the boot for 15 minutes before he pile drive me.
Yeah. I got to manage Dutch against Lawler, and he is great. Dutch Iggy'd me 33 times, I think, which is hilarious because that was a total rib. But what's funny is early on when I was out there and you and Dominique were working, you know, people would say, sit at the curtain and watch Dominique. You just watch her. You're going to learn a lot from her. Just watch her. And I did. It was great stuff.
Really?
She knew timing really well. Of course, y'all were such a well-oiled machine. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, man.
You know
where she learned?
Akbar? Yeah.
Akbar. I loved her, man. He'd bring her in to wrestle. We'd always take some girl with us, and he'd put her over big. I'd go in and do a job for somebody, and he'd put her over big.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Well, stop by Captain's Corner, where you can get autographed photos, cards, magazines, and figures from all of your favorite wrestling superstars of the past, present, and future. You'll also be able to participate in live signings in the weeks and months to come. Make sure to stop by Captain's Corner on Facebook and give us a holler. Remember, cheers to the working man.
Jimmy was mentioning something there a while ago that makes me made me think of something. It's always nice to hear. You always hear about wrestlers being ribbers and everything like that. Who's like the best ribber, or what's the best rib you can tell us about, or something like that? Real memorable to you.
Cow, man. Yeah, I got a couple of them, but they're pretty bad. I better not tell the Jimmy Garvin one.
Whatever you want to tell, brother.
Yeah, whatever you want to tell.
No. There's enough guys. You'll get that story out of somebody. I would say best ribber. Golly, man, it's so hard.
Yeah.
Tracy Smothers is a pretty good ribber.
Yeah.
Tom Pritchard's a pretty good ribber. Dirty White Boy.
Yeah.
Ricky and Robert, you can't ever count them out. Robert Fuller. Robert's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Is there anyone you can say that won't hurt the innocent?
They were all just like simple ribs, lock somebody's suitcase and, they don't have a key to get in it, or,
sure,
stuff like that. Siphon all the gas out of your car, little stuff like that.
I've heard the one where, you go to wrestle your match, you come back and one of your shoes is missing, but then 2 towns later in the loop, you find your shoe again. So you had to go home in your wrestling boots or something, and, your shoe would show up. But
yeah. First thing you do when you get to the building is put your boots on.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, one of them will be missing.
Right. And also that's probably how much time of your life have you spent tying up your boots, man?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
the old Congress Inn.
Oh, legendary. Yeah.
Yeah, when we were all everybody was staying there, right? So
yeah,
Billy Travis had a place to stay, so he always gave me and Dominique his room over there. He said, "Hey, go stay at the Congress." He said, "It's paid for." I'm not staying there tonight because, of course, him and Jeff were running around together doing what Jeff did. So, and I remember there was this kid, Sean Baxter. I don't know if y'all remember him or not. Was it Sean Baxter? No, it wasn't Sean Baxter.
Brandon Baxter, was it?
Yeah, but it wasn't him.
Okay.
God, he did a rock and roller gimmick.
Okay.
But anyway, Eric Embry and and Terry Adonis. Do you know Terry Adonis?
Yes, I do. Definitely. Yeah.
Well, they H-bombed him.
Oh, man.
He was talking shit, blah, 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 blah. He was talking shit. So Terry said, we'll get this kid. So they H-bombed him, handcuffed him to the fence around the swimming pool, poked him in the ass with a hairbrush.
Oh,
left him buck naked, and Terry wrote on his chest, "Thanks for a good time, Terry."
Oh my gosh!
Oh my god!
Yeah. Needless to say, he left the territory and never came back.
That's a pretty brutal rib right there, man. That's pretty stiff. Yeah. Wow.
That's still not as good as the Jimmy Garvin, but I can't.
Right.
I love Jimmy, still alive, and I'm not going to do that to him.
Yeah, I understand. Well, isn't it true that you could have been a Garvin, brother?
Yeah. But see, now there you go. Jimmy Garvin loved me to death.
Yeah.
So when I turned heel, Akbar said, "Hey, look how much success that Jimmy's had working with Precious."
Yeah.
I said, yeah. It's great. He said, "Look, Dominique, Leslie, it's my wife."
Uh-huh.
He said, "Leslie is beautiful." He said, "Why don't you do something with her?" I said, "Well, she don't know anything about the business." He said, "She don't need to know anything about the business. Let her be stiff. She's on the floor. If she ain't kicking the shit out of them guys, then ain't nobody gonna believe it." I said, "Well, you're right." So he said, let me talk to her. So that's how she got started. But yeah, Jimmy told me, he said, "Man," he said, "brother, but we can do some stuff together." He said, "Just why don't you be a Garvin?" I said, I want to make it on my own and blah, blah, blah. And I look back at that now and go, "You stupid idiot." What the hell was I thinking?
Yeah. I can't blame you, bro.
He offered to give me the rub, and I was too stupid to know what he was doing.
Yeah. So you bring up a great point, having your wife in the business. I mean, when I signed up for the business, that was on the list of don'ts. You know what I mean? How did you all, that took some balls, man, because I've heard a lot of guys say, don't ever bring your girl around, but of course you all were a team. That's one thing. Whereas she wasn't necessarily staying in the back a lot by herself, And,
I was single for a long time before me and her got married. So, I had my run up and down the road back in the territory days doing my thing. So,
right.
Me and her married. We're trying to raise a family. I got kids. And, believe me, the last thing on my mind when I was out there was chasing arena rats or doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. I was busy trying to make sure that I didn't get stiffed on my pay.
Right.
So I got grocery money to bring home.
Yeah.
And I said, well, look, you do this, you get double the pay.
Yeah.
Hey, smart.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. We broke her in, and, it took her a little while. It took her about a year or so to really get good. And I'd throw those guys outside the ring, man, and she would walk a mud hole in their ass. They'd come back and be like, "God, brother, she is so stiff." I said, "Man, that's a girl. If you can't take that, you don't need to be here." And I said that my whole career. Every time she'd walk somebody's ass up and down, that's a girl, man. If you can't take that, come on.
That's a girl, man. So
but she was stiff, man.
Yeah. I mean, so, also during that same time, in 92, I'm looking at this list of the guys and the people you worked with in Smoky Mountain, Rock and Roll, Tracy Smothers, Kevin Sullivan, Stud Stable, the Armstrongs. You worked so many great people in that time.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you said Kamala and Papa Shango and Barbarian and Tony Atlas, but these are dudes on a different level than those guys. No disrespect.
Kevin Sullivan. I did a deal with Kevin Sullivan. Got color for him. Got 14 stitches on the top of my head because I raised up when he came with a chair. It was one of those wooden chairs, and it caught me right on the crease, man. And it laid me wide open. He was like, holy shit, brother. Yeah, sorry. No, he said, no, it's good. So he hung me in a tree of woes, and I had a big puddle of blood on the mat when I was done. So at the end of it, Bob Armstrong says, man, look, I'm going to bring you out here on TV. Don't clean that up real good.
Seriously.
Pitch the whole deal that Sullivan needs to be banned. He needs to have his license taken. He can't wrestle, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, he was doing the deal with Brian Lee.
Right.
You know, and Brian says, well, I'll never get my revenge if you get rid of him, blah, blah, blah. So that's,
I love that time of wrestling, man. I did. I love that time. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, see, Kevin would, I was there the night that, the Japanese guy, what was his name? Golly, man, he's a big time Japanese guy now. The guy that gapped his arm wide open and Sullivan stuck the deal in it.
Yeah. Hold on. I know it. Daggone it. The good news is that I can trim some of this stuff out here.
Yeah.
Are you talking about
what is his name? Jeez.
Kinemura. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Koichiro Kimura. Yeah.
That was him. Yeah, man, you could see almost to the bone of his bicep. And even Sullivan was like, oh my God, this is bad, but I'm going to stick this thing in it. We went out there to try to break all that up. I was taking bumps and all that for Sullivan, and, he's still on him and they're bleeding everywhere. And what sucked is I never got to work with Dominique there because Candido was in there with
Sonny.
With
Tammy.
Tammy.
Yeah.
But she never got to do any Smoky Mountain with me, which sucked. We worked together everywhere else, so.
Yeah, that doesn't. I mean, I get and maybe was that Cornette's call? Was that he just like, brother, can't bring it in? We already got that.
No, I think it's because I wouldn't bobble. I was in a carpenter position,
Sure.
Well, that night with Kinemura, I worked the Rock and Roll Express, and that's when they had Arn Anderson under the Sheik.
They
were poking the bear.
Right.
We worked Rock and Roll that night.
Yeah.
That was, I was a wealth of knowledge working with all those guys and riding up and down the road. I'd be in a band with White Boy and Tom Pritchard and Ricky Morton and, Tim Horner, all those guys.
Yeah. Did you ever hear Tim Horner's version of Shameless?
No,
the Garth Brooks classic.
No, but I did see Tracy Smothers whip his ass one night.
That's even better than that.
I've always heard Tracy was one of those legit tough guys, like you were talking about Barbarian and Ming earlier.
Tracy is legit tough.
Yeah. But the sweetest man you've ever met, too.
Yeah.
Was he not the sweetest person? I mean, seriously. I've never been on the wrong side of him.
My kids. He would ask about my kids before he asked how I was doing.
Yeah. The saddest thing was I got to manage him twice. And then the last time we worked on a show together there in Millersville, he was there and he said, brother, I need you tonight. And I said, I'm out there twice tonight. And the guy, I don't want to say the name, but the booker wouldn't let me go out there with Tracy because I was already working in two other angles, which I would have traded both of those for working with Tracy. Now I know it was. Yeah, it would have been more. Yeah.
See, me and Crimson, after I trained Crimson, got him in.
Yeah.
He took over the book for a little while up at Millersville, and I was coming in doing commentary and writing TV.
Yeah.
And, they were just like, man, I just can't justify paying him this much money to talk on a microphone. And he's like, dude, are you stupid? He's writing your TV for you.
Yeah.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com, and to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to uswapodcast.com.
Hi, this is Mike Needham, host of the Reckless Abandon Podcast with Mike Needham. We invite you to jump on your favorite podcast platform and search for the Reckless Abandon Podcast and give us a listen. I'm sometimes joined by a part-time podcaster, part-time co-host, and full-time wife, Tiffany Nicole. We talk wrestling, we talk pop culture, we talk local events, local happenings in West Tennessee, and a ton of other stuff. But be sure to check out the Reckless Abandon Podcast. Find us on Facebook. Also, look up the Microgroup Podcasting family on Facebook and see some of our other podcasts we have out there. Until next time, make good choices and always remember, no dollar, no dice.
Hey y'all, this is Jimmy here, and that was episode 8 of the Best of James Rock Street Productions with the first half of episode 28 of the Crippler Jeff Daniels on Gimme Back My Pro Wrestling. Jeff's a great guy and had a great career. He was a journeyman wrestler in the days of the territories and has the stories to go with it. From dumping a plate of food in a Wildcat's lap to Smoky Mountain wrestling and more. You can hear the full episode over on @GMBMPW or Gimme Back My Pro Wrestling wherever you listen to podcasts, or simply click the link in the notes below. We hope you've enjoyed a look back in the archives of James Rock Street Productions. Check us out next week to see what else we have in store. Until then, friends, follow @GMBMPW and @JamesRockStreet everywhere. Peace.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life.
This has been a James Rock Street production.